Hello, listeners, and welcome to the holiday special here on The Hodder Show. I hope you are having a fabulous holiday season and want to wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas, or whatever holiday you celebrate, just happy holidays in general. It has been a tradition here on The Hodder Show over the last, going on 6 years now, that I have some kind of paranormal content for you guys at Christmas time, as it is a old tradition that I always was a fan of, to tell ghost stories on Christmas. We are keeping that tradition alive here on The Hodder Show with a crossover episode, yet again, with The Dreadfiles, which for those of you who are not familiar with is a Reddit account that I run in which I post original horror fiction. I post on No Sleeps, The Scary Stories, subreddits, and also my own subreddit are The Dreadfiles. If you are so inclined to check that out, you can find more information through the link below in the description of this podcast. Of course, the subreddit, The Dreadfiles, or on Instagram at The Dreadfiles. So we have a Christmas story that I wrote, actually just a few days ago as I record this, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. I hope that you do. It brought together a lot of things I love about Christmas ghost stories and kind of creepy paranormal stories, and actually a dream I had when I was younger. So very interesting indeed, and I hope that you guys enjoy it. So without further ado, grab some hot cocoa, throw on your best pair of headphones or some great speakers, and enjoy this tale. However, I have to warn you, if you go seeking out the paranormal and the creepy and the spirits around this time of year, you just might find them. So I urge you to use caution. If you hear any strange sounds on Christmas night, may be best to stay snuggled up in bed. Enjoy the story. I woke to a strange sound early Christmas morning. Case file number 01224. The following is a collection of relevant journal entries from Peter Byers, ranging from December 24th, 2001 to December 25th, 2009. No other information is known about the events he describes. Entry number 1, December 24th, 2001. They say at Christmas time the veil between worlds is at its thinnest, Nana said with a sly smile as she began yet another one of her scary ghost stories she insists on telling my cousins and I every year. A tradition from when she was my age. I can't figure out why she insists on telling us stories that are meant to frighten us. Where's the fun in that? Either way, it's always nice that she puts in the effort. I don't see her or Grandpa as much as I'd like to, since they live so far away, but they always come down for Christmas. They even bought me this awesome leather-bound journal. My cousin Brian thinks it's lame, but I don't care what he thinks. It's fun to write down my thoughts. I can't help but think about the story Nana told us tonight, about a killer Christmas tree that devours a kid. It was kind of lame for Brian and I, but my younger cousin Eddie seemed to enjoy it. She put so much effort into her storytelling. You can't help but be entertained. I wondered where she gets her inspiration from. Anyway, it's almost midnight, so I had better get to sleep. If Mom catches me up, she'll be upset. I'll check in tomorrow. Entry number 2, December 25th, 2001. Merry Christmas! It's been such an awesome morning. Mom and Dad had so many presents for me. Nana and Grandpa made us pancakes for breakfast. They were so good. After all of the excitement of the morning wore off, I was pretty tired. Mom asked if I was feeling okay. I'm just a little tired because of what happened last night. I woke to a strange sound echoing in my room and a chill in the air. When I turned on the light to look around, I noticed my window was open. The latch is old, and if the wind blows hard enough, it will sometimes pop the latch open. I looked at my clock and saw it was 3:08 a.m. It was freezing in my room, so I got up to close the window. But I was still trying to figure out what the noise was. Looking outside, I could see that there was some freshly fallen snow on the ground, with more snow falling from the sky. I was about to close my window when I noticed something strange. The sound was coming from outside. I was looking around to try and figure out what it was when I noticed the tree at the back of our property. The tree had been dead for years, but Nad never wanted to tear it down. Not sure why, but covered in snow, it looked kind of beautiful. I studied the tree for a second, thinking the sound had to be from the wind moving one of the old branches. As I was about to pull the window shut, I noticed something really weird. There was a rope tied to one of the branches, kind of like a tire swing. Excitement was building as I followed the rope down, admiring what seemed to be a new tire swing. When I saw it, there was not a tire hanging from the rope. It was a man. He was hanging there, with the rope down around his neck, and was swaying in the wind. A chill ran through me, but it wasn't from the cold. What was I looking at? Was this a dream? It had to be. I slammed the window shut and closed my curtains. Jumping back into bed, I pulled the covers up over my head. I guess Nana's story scared me more than I thought. Note: there are dozens of entries in the journal. As time goes on, they get less frequent, and it seems Peter only writes in it weekly or for special occasions. However, no relevant information is documented until the below entry. Entry number 3, December 24th, 2002. Another Christmas, another ghost story from Nana. Mom says to be grateful. She puts in so much effort. But I can't help but notice every year they get a little lamer. This year she told us a story about a creature that steals bad children on Christmas. I swear I've heard it before, but I didn't want to hurt her feelings. Eddie seemed to enjoy it. The stories are more for him now at this point anyway. Brian was being super weird today. Mom told me it's just his age, but he's not that much older than me. He refused to sit and listen to Nana's story, which I know hurt her feelings.
He's a teenager now, hon. Don't take it personally,
Grandpa said, patting her on the back. No matter how lame I may find Nana's stories, I'm always going to listen. Dad told me the other day that you never know when it may be the last time I hear one. Entry number 4, December 25th, 2002. Merry Christmas! I'm finally taking time to write after a crazy morning. Mom and Dad got me a Nintendo GameCube. I can't believe it! Brian, Eddie, and I were playing it all morning. It was a little harder to concentrate since I'm so tired. It's weird. I had the same dream last night that I had last year. Only, I'm not sure it's a dream. I can't explain what it felt like, but I woke up just after 3 a.m. to that strange noise again. When my eyes opened, I turned on my lamp and went to my window. There was a light snowfall, but it was kind of pretty. A crisp breeze was gently blowing, bringing the smell of fresh pine from the nearby forest to my nostrils. The snow had just begun to accumulate on the ground. I looked around my yard before turning my gaze to the dead tree at the back of our property. I took a deep breath as I focused my eyes through the falling snow, and I could make out the rope. The very same rope I saw last year, with the very same man hanging from it, slowly swaying in the breeze. I rubbed my eyes for a second and looked back. The man was still there, swaying in the breeze. What was I experiencing? It had to be a dream, but it felt so real. After a few minutes of staring at the man, I decided to go back to bed. I had to be seeing things. How could a man be hanging from the tree and no one noticed? I realized that last Christmas morning, I never went out to look at the tree. Come to think of it, I didn't this year either. I'll change that tomorrow. I've got to get to the bottom of this.
Entry number 5, December 26th, 2002.
I learned the term lucid dream today from Mom. As I was eating breakfast, I mentioned my dream to Mom and Dad. They both looked at each other and smiled. My dad teased me slightly about his big boy having a nightmare. Mom gave him a light smack on the arm. What you had is called a lucid dream, sweetie. They feel very real, and during the dream, you'll even realize you're dreaming. It can be scary, but I promise what you saw wasn't there, Mom said as she rubbed my hand. It was comforting to know what happened to me, but I still decided I needed to conduct an investigation. After breakfast, I went outside to inspect the tree. I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. I've walked by this tree 100 of times, and I never noticed anything. Heck, I've looked at the tree from my window tons. Why am I just now seeing this hanging man? I guess it was a dream. I still feel a little uneasy about the whole thing, but I guess I should just move on.
Entry number 6, April 13th, 2003.
Something strange happened today. When I came home from school, my dad was out back staring at the dead tree. When I walked up behind him and called out to him, he jumped with fright. After turning around, he laughed and came over to me. I asked him what he was doing and he shrugged his shoulders.
Just thinking about what to do with that old eyesore. I don't feel right tearing it down. It was here when my great-great-grandfather built the house after all. It just always gave me the creeps. I'm not surprised you had a nightmare about it, bud,
Dad said as he put his arm around me. I knew that our house was owned by my Grandpa Byers before, but I didn't know his grandfather owned it. How old is this house? Better still, how old is this tree?
Entry number 7, December 25th, 2003.
Merry Christmas, I guess. I can't say I'm in the mood to celebrate. I'm really scared and confused, but Mom and Dad won't listen to me. For the 3rd year in a row, I woke up just after 3 a.m. to the sound that now haunts my dreams. I lay in bed for a few minutes listening to the sound of the rope swinging back and forth. I thought back to the scary story Nana told us yesterday. It was about a boy who tries to take a peek at Santa, only instead of seeing Santa, he sees a horrifying cloaked figure. She gave a pretty terrifying description. I was a little more freaked out going to bed this year, mostly because I was scared of being woken up the same way, to then be laying in bed listening to the sound of the hanged man swinging in the breeze. I was frozen to the spot in fear. Something compelled me to find my nerve and grab the binoculars I got as a gift for my birthday. I had a terrible feeling deep in my stomach, but I needed to take a closer look, and I was too scared to go outside. Stepping up to my window, I took a deep breath as I opened my eyes. Snow was falling heavily and a strong wind was blowing. I could barely make out the tree through the snow, but I knew it was there, and I knew I could hear the sound of the hanged man swaying in the wind. Holding the binoculars up to my eyes, I peered through them and could make out the tree very clearly. I focused my efforts to find the rope tied to the tree branch, and after a few moments, I found it. I slowly followed the rope down as it wrapped around the neck of the man I had seen the previous 2 years hanging from the tree. I looked on as the body swayed back and forth, snow covering it almost entirely. From what I could make out, the skin, it was dark with severe frostbite. What was I looking at? How was this possible? I took a step back from the window, setting the binoculars down on the windowsill. Pinched myself trying to wake up from this lucid dream. The only problem was I didn't wake up. This was real. Suddenly, the creaking sound stopped. My body froze and my legs quivered with fear. As unsettling as the sound was, its sudden pause was even more frightening. Terror gripped me, but so did curiosity. I grabbed my binoculars, took a deep breath, and peered through them. The man hanging by his neck from the dead tree had stopped swaying, and his head was turned, looking right at me. I looked on as if to lock eyes with this man. His eyes were bloodshot, and it looked as if he had been crying. After a moment, he slowly and painfully turned his head away from me, as if his whole body was completely frozen. Then, he began to sway with the wind again, as if nothing happened. Terrified, I threw the binoculars down and ran into my parents' room. I begged them to come look to see what I was seeing. When they looked through the binoculars, they saw nothing, just the falling snow. They were a little upset with me that I woke them up so early. Mom got me a glass of water while Dad sat with me and assured me it was just my imagination. I fell asleep after a little while, but what I saw last night, I can't get out of my head. The man just looked so sad. Entry number 8, December 25th, 2004. Merry Christmas! I woke up this morning around 7 a.m. The latest I've slept in on Christmas morning ever. Nana and Grandpa made breakfast and we all opened their presents. It was the perfect Christmas morning. It was also the first time on a Christmas morning I'd gotten a full night's sleep in 3 years. About halfway through the day, I realized that I hadn't heard the sound of the hangman for the first time since it began. I was quite scared for a moment since I didn't know what it meant. Dad said I should be happy that I was finally over that horrible nightmare. I guess I'm grateful. I'm 13 now and I'm terrified I'll turn out like my cousin Brian by next year. He hates Christmas. After breakfast, we went outside to toss a football around. The perks of having a warm Christmas without much snow. This was the first green Christmas I've ever seen that I can remember. Grandpa was a little disappointed since he loves the snow. Oh well. It was nice to not have to wear such a heavy coat this year. Entry number 9, December 24th, 2005. Seems we're breaking with a few traditions this year. However, it's not by choice. Nana, Grandpa, Uncle Tom, Aunt Debbie, Eddie, and Brian will be coming over this year for Christmas due to a crazy snowstorm. I've never seen so much snow in my life than what's fallen these past couple of days. Luckily, Mom and Dad were prepared, so we didn't have to leave the house. Nana was super upset that she couldn't see us or share her Christmas ghost story. I made her promise to tell us 2 stories next year. She seemed to like that. It feels so weird in my room right now. It's very quiet. Usually when I go to bed on Christmas Eve, there's some kind of music playing or I can hear talking coming from the living room. Not this year. I'm going to play some games before going to bed. Oh, I forgot to mention that. Mom and Dad bought me a TV from my room as an early Christmas present due to my good grades. I'm really lucky to have the family I do. I miss having them here. I'm sure they miss being here too. I hope we can have them all next year. Entry number 10, December 25th, 2005. I'm writing this before I go downstairs while it's still fresh in my mind. I need to tell someone what I experienced, but I know it'll just worry Mom and Dad. Do you know how I didn't see the hangman last year? Well, last night, I woke up to that familiar sound. Checking the clock, I saw it was 3:11 a.m. That can't be a coincidence. The same hour every time? It must mean something. I jumped out of bed, grabbed my binoculars, and ran to the window. Throwing open the blind, I brought them up to my eyes and peered through. There was so much thick snow covering the tree, with more falling. After a few seconds, I found what I was looking for: the man hanging by his neck from a rope fastened to the tree. He was covered in thick snow and was swaying back and forth. A cold feeling ran down my spine as I looked on. Why am I seeing him again? Why didn't I see him last year? Full of questions, I set the binoculars down on my windowsill, thinking about what to do next. While I argued internally, the creaking stopped. There was nothing but the sound of my beating heart to keep me company, and I had to stop my hands from shaking. Slowly, I picked up the binoculars and brought them to my eyes. Peering through them, I watched as the man hanging from the tree slowly turned his head to look at me, just as he did before. He was covered in snow, and his skin was dark with severe frostbite. I felt his gaze directly on me as he slowly brought his hand to his face to wipe away the snow covering it, exposing his bloodshot eyes and a deep frown even more clearly. The way he moved, it was almost as if he was fighting against ice, keeping him trapped in place. He stared at me for what felt like hours, and a few tears ran down his cheek. I could feel his anguish through the binoculars. I wanted to run outside to help him, but I was afraid. I stood frozen in place, locking eyes with this man hanging by his neck from the dead tree. Slowly, he raised his arm up and tried to remove the rope from around his neck. He struggled with it for a few moments, then gave up, letting his hand fall back to his side. He turned to look at me again as he slowly brought his arm back up and weakly waved at me, beckoning me to come and help him as more tears ran down his face. I was still frozen in place. Part of me wanted to run out and help this poor man, but I was too afraid. Who was he? Why was he here? I had so many questions, and I'm a little ashamed to admit that I just stood there looking back at him. After a few minutes, he let his arm fall back to his side. He just turned his head back, looked straight, as he began to sway with the wind again. I should have helped him. I feel like I need to. Maybe I'll see him again next year, and I'll be brave enough to help. Entry number 11, August 3rd, 2006. I've decided to dedicate this journal to any discoveries I make about the hanged man I see early on Christmas morning. I did some reading over the last couple of months, and I think I figured out a couple of things. My mom was watching some lame witch show the other day when I came home from school, but as I walked by, they mentioned the witching hour. I asked my mom what it was, and she explained that between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., their powers are at their strongest. It's that time of day when supernatural beings are at their most powerful, or when spirits have a stronger link to our world. Pairing that with the fact that Nana always told us that at Christmas time the veil between our world and the next is at its thinnest, that could explain the hanged man. I think he's a spirit trapped here, but I can only see him on Christmas and during the witching hour. If he's trapped here, it would explain why he's so sad and trying to escape. Someone or something trapped his soul here to that tree. It makes sense, but what I can't figure out is why I didn't see him the year before last. I'll need to think about that some more, I guess. If I'm right about this, I think he needs my help to move on. I've got to do some more research. Entry number 12, December 24th, 2006. Things feel back to normal this year, Everyone is back with us to celebrate the holidays. Nana has 2 stories for us. They were pretty good too. Even Brad admitted that he missed hearing one last year. Brian, Eddie, and I gamed for a few hours, but they've gone to bed now. It's currently 11:23 p.m., and I'm having a hard time getting tired. I'm wondering if I'll see the hanged man tonight. I want to help him. I think I need to. He just wants to be free. Entry number 13, December 25th, 2006. Something wasn't right last night. I didn't see him. I still woke up just after 3 a.m., probably due to my nerves, but he wasn't there. I didn't hear any sound, and I'm so confused. What's been different to now to the times I saw him? Looking outside, I could see the snow that had fallen the night before still on the ground. I'm somewhat thankful it didn't snow all night, but I guess I'll have to wait until next year to see him. I've got to figure this out. Entry number 14, December 25th, 2007. Is it wrong that I'm upset that I didn't see the hanged man last night? It's a wet, muggy Christmas morning. It seemed to have rained all night. I guess even a spirit doesn't want to be out in the rain. Still, I can't help but feel disappointed that I wasn't able to help him. I can't seem to stop thinking about him. Entry number 15, December 24th, 2008. I'm filled with a nervous energy. The story Nana had for us tonight was really good, and it put me in the right headspace for spirit watching. I've decided I'm going to stay up all night looking out my window. I don't care if I'm tired in the morning. We're having another green Christmas this year. It's nice not to have to help shovel snow, but it kind of puts a damper on the Christmas spirit. Entry number 16, December 25th, 2008. I was up until 4:13 a.m., well past the witching hour, and I didn't see the hanged man. While I was staring at the tree last night, I realized something. Every time I've seen the hanged man, it was snowing. However, it only snowed during the witching hour. I'm not sure if I'm crazy, but I think the circumstances have to be just right for me to see him. It has to be 3 a.m. on Christmas morning, and it has to be snowing. It may sound crazy, but it feels right in my heart. Next year will be my last year at home for Christmas before I go to college. I hope I can see him. I need to help him. I think about his sad face almost every day. The way the tears rolled down his frostbitten cheeks. Sometimes late at night, I swear I can hear the sound of the rope swaying in the breeze. This has to end next year. I can't leave this unfinished. I need to help him. Entry number 17, July 30th, 2009. I'm counting down the days. I see him every time I try and close my eyes now. The face of the man hanging from the tree. His anguish overwhelms me, but I just want to help him. I no longer care who he is or why he's hanging from the tree. Whatever the reason, no one deserves to suffer like he is. I'll help him. I'll set him free. Then maybe I can move on and be free from this feeling. I swear, I almost feel guilty every time I think about him. Like it's somehow my fault he's hanging by his neck from the tree. I need to help him. Entry number 18, December 22nd, 2009. They're calling for lots of snow this year over Christmas. It has to snow on Christmas Eve. It just has to. I've got to help him. He needs me to set him free. Entry number 19, December 24th, 2009. I just heard on the news that Nana and Grandpa were watching. It's going to snow all night. It's also going to be well below freezing. This is my chance. I said goodnight to my family and now I'm sitting at my window, ready to go. I'm dressed for the cold and I have a knife ready to cut down the rope. I'm going to help this man. I am going to set him free. Entry number 20, December 25th, 2009. The sound! I hear it! I fell asleep at some point, but after opening my eyes, I could see the snow lightly falling and the man hanging from the tree. I picked up my binoculars to take one more close look before heading outside. This time, he was already looking at me. The pain in his eyes was worse than ever. How long has he been trapped like this? He slowly waved me out with what seemed like the last bit of his strength. I'm going to help him. I'm going to set him free. Maybe after I free him, he'll answer my questions. I can't wait to be free of this feeling. Of the creaking sound that seemed to wake me up randomly on some nights. This will be over soon. I can feel it. I'm taking my journal with me. I'm not sure why, but it seems kind of a fitting end that it's with me. I'll check in tomorrow morning before spending Christmas with my family. I've been seeing this man since I was 11, and I guess it's high time I meet him. I'm still a little scared, but I can't wait for this to be over. I can't wait for us both to be free. The entry above was the final journal entry from Peter Byers. On the morning of December 25th, 2009, at approximately 7:46 a.m., police and ambulance were called to the Byers residence. Upon arriving at the scene, paramedics worked to resuscitate Peter Byers, who was found by his father hanging by his neck from a tree on their property. He also had early stages of frostbite. Peter Byers was unresponsive and was officially declared dead. After an autopsy was performed, it was determined his cause of death was by a broken neck and strangulation from the hanging. Although his death was ruled as suicide, Mr. and Mrs. Byers have begged police to look into the matter more, as they do not believe their son would ever commit suicide. After 2 weeks of an investigation, the case was closed. Peter's journal was discovered by his father several months later, tucked into a hole in the dead tree as he was cutting it down. After reading the journal, he contacted the authorities again due to discovering new information. In the journal, after Peter's final entry, the rest of the pages were blank, except the final page. There was a note written in different handwriting, and the note reads as follows. A life for a life, your kin's soul for mine. He had no blood on his hands, but now his blood's on yours. In his kindness, he's freed me, and has now taken my place. With his life over, he has paid for your sin. I am now free from your prison. Merry Christmas, Mr. Byers.